Welcome to day 91 of Happier People podcast, here with me, Jerry Banfield. Would you like to hear about one of the most helpful books I've ever read? It's called The Power of Now. I'll give you the top 10 things that I learned in the book that I hope you'll find really helpful for you. I'll show you The Power of Now really quick online. The Power of Now is available on my website. If you go to jerrybanfield.com/books, I've got a direct link to it. And in this video, I've got a direct link to it as well on Amazon. If you would like to read The Power of Now, would you please use my link directly to get it on Amazon, because I will get a few cents. It's kind of like a free tip you can give me for telling you about the book. It's available. I listened to it on Audible, but it's also, and I bought a paperback copy, and I bought several copies for friends and family. There's a bunch of different formats you can get it. You can see there's thousands of reviews on Amazon, which means a lot of people have bought it. I bought this book in September 2014, and I'm very grateful for all that I learned in the book. So what exactly are the top 10 things I've learned in the book? Well, number 10, I've learned about the value of knowing my own mind, of watching the mind. And this allows me to separate the voice in my head, so to speak, from who I am. And to see that the thoughts I have are not who I am. For example, after reading The Power of Now one day, I used to be really bad about judging people who are fat because I was fat, and then my strategy was to be really judgmental and critical of everyone else who was fat, so I wouldn't have a chance, wouldn't have time to look in and see what I could do better to take care of my own health. So I remember I was going to get a massage one day. I walked in, a new massage therapist I'd never seen before, and the first thought that comes into my head is, oh my God, this fat explicative. And then what I learned in The Power of Now is to realize that thought is not who I am. That thought was an initial reaction that I had no control over based on my previous programming. So then after that, what I learned in The Power of Now is to get curious, to ask, who said that? Or is that what I really think? Or what I asked at that time was, where did that come from? It's like in The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle mentions like watching a mouse hole or a groundhog's hole and just waiting to see what pops out of the hole. Realizing that thoughts are just like little things that pop up and then they go away. You don't have to hold on to them. That's number 9. I formed a habit in The Power of Now after reading it of not holding on to my thoughts so much. Not telling the same story over and over again and saying, that's me, this is me, remember that time, that's me. But to see that these are just thoughts and stories that come up and disappear. To get comfortable with everything passing away. And that's number 8. That 8th habit that I've got out of The Power of Now that's been really helpful is to get comfortable with the idea of things passing away and see that all grace, all mercy, all the things you think, like all the horrible pains or whatever in life, they all pass away. And in Christian terms, or God's mercy, is the fact that anything you don't like will pass away and be forgotten. Anything you think is wrong will end. Anything that's not how it should be will go away and disappear and make way for something new again. And once I get comfortable with realizing whatever thought I have that comes up, it'll just pass away. It's no big deal. I don't have to be attached to it. And that my first thought about someone doesn't have to be the thought I react to. It doesn't have to be what I believe. And then I don't have to judge myself after my first thought. And in fact, number 7, I've gotten the habit of not having a relationship with myself. In The Power of Now, you see the insanity, and Eckhart Tolle explains that his spiritual enlightenment happened when he was having the thought, I can't live with myself. And then the next thought, well, who is this I that can't live with myself? There must be 2 of me. And that is one of the most powerful habits I've had in the life that I see here with you is to stop thinking of some phantom version of myself that doesn't exist. Now, I know with language, I have to use terms like that sometimes. For example, for you to realize that what I'm saying is referencing this body, I may have to use the phrase myself. But in my thinking, I don't go around thinking about what does myself need. I don't think all the time about what does Jerry need or Jerry want. I don't focus my whole life on what I want this fictitious version of me to accomplish. This body, as based on the things I just shared, it comes and goes. And yet, number 6, what I got in touch with in the power of now is my own eternal nature. When seeing through the veil of myself, it's very clear that I am. And the I am is very much eternal. The I am doesn't have a myself. The I am is simply here, silent, playing around, enjoying the world, always been here, always will be here, is all there is right now. To give up the idea of myself, that I don't need to build up Jerry or Jerry Banfield into something great, that anything I build up will pass away, and the only joy available is right here, right now. And this has been a powerful new habit in my life because I stopped working. Once I read The Power of Now, I stopped working as much to build the fictitious version of Jerry up and simply be. Not even be myself, simply just be in the world. Embrace the world, enjoy the world, love the world, experience everything with that deep understanding that this too shall pass away. The good things I love must be embraced now, and they will be replaced with more great things later. Number 5, Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body and the power of now. And I think the pain body is an extremely helpful way to look at what happens inside when, let's say, this body gets into a bad mood. It gets frustrated, upset, angry. It's really helpful to think of it in pain body terms as if there's some kind of separate entity, some part of myself, to use language awkwardly, that then awakens and wants to feed on the pain. I realized with my alcoholism that my drinking was very much a way to feed my pain body. But that I also fed my pain body using drama, using arguments with friends and family members. I also fed my pain body watching violent movies. I also fed my pain body by overeating to the point where I'd feel disgusting. I also was feeding my pain body by doing things like watching adult movies. I also was feeding my pain body by doing things like pushing my physical body too hard, working out too hard, doing things like working too much, pushing that I could feed my pain body in so many different ways. The pain body is basically a collection of all the past human pain that lingers and is around in my mind and body. The pain body is a collection of all the bad things that have happened to Jerry, all the ways the world has done things wrong to Jerry, and all the things that Jerry has done wrong back then to the world. And all that comes up. For example, one day I was buying a car with my wife. The salesman comes out and says, "We can't use your old license plate because of how you set the titling up." And then my pain body just snaps and triggers off right there. Oh my God, Jerry's a bad person. Look, he didn't see this one little detail. It's going to cost $400 extra. And then with the awareness that comes from the power of now that helped me see, oh, my pain body just triggered off right there. Okay. Now, do I want to feed that and go deeper into it, or would I like to just let that go and move on? Well, I chose I could stay conscious in the middle of my pain body. So the 4th habit I've learned, the top 4, number 4, really helpful habit is to stay conscious no matter what's happening. Don't try and go to sleep and avoid things, because this has been one of the most destructive habits of my personal life, and this has been one of the most destructive habits for humanity. That we find something we don't like and we simply go to sleep in the face of it. We turn into a zombie, essentially. We just walk blindly. We don't look anymore. We don't want to see anymore. A simple way you could do this is like changing my daughter's diaper. It's nasty. Sometimes it smells, and there's the temptation to just kind of go unconscious, to start fantasizing, to go off in another world, to essentially stop paying attention and just change the diaper on autopilot, to not even really experience it. If you've seen the movie with Adam Sandler, Blink, this is a really good movie about the basic same thing, where he starts essentially fast forwarding through parts of his life, and all of a sudden he's at the end of his life and he realizes he fast forwarded through all the good parts because for one reason or another he just wanted to get to the end of it. I thought it was funny in Blink where he starts fast forwarding through sex because, one time whatever, something happened, and then after that, every time sex starts, he just automatically is at the end of it and he doesn't even get to experience it anymore. How many times in our lives do we do that? Do we just go into these routines and we don't really pay attention to what's going on? We talk on the phone and we say the same things to the same person and the same stories. If, in my experience, a more unconscious person will tend to tell you the exact same things all the time. They'll have the same tone of voice all the time. It's this person did that and this person's doing this. And do you remember 20 years ago when this happened and this happened and this person said that? And I've learned in the power of now to watch and check my consciousness. Am I conscious right now, or am I getting asleep? Am I saying some tired, worn out thing that millions of other people have said before in the exact same way? So number 3, a huge habit I've learned in the power of now is to be original, to act in faith. When I do these now, I don't write out a script. I have started writing the description out a little bit, so I've got that done for the live video. But I don't have these top 10 things laid out in my head. I just talk because I have faith that when I step up here, the right words will come out of my mouth. Now, I don't mean the right words to impress every single person on earth and to make me look good and to get 1 million likes on every single video. I mean the right words to make a difference in your life today. The right words to help me feel better than I did when I started doing this. And I felt pretty good when I started doing this. So that's amazing that it's possible to feel even better. Eckhart Tolle mentions how for his speeches, when he would talk to people, he wouldn't sit there and make a script. He wouldn't take copious notes and write everything out in great detail. He said one of the worst talks he ever gave was when he brought notes and tried to reference them, that when he simply stepped up to the podium and said whatever came out of his mouth, then people usually responded really good. So I got out of the power of now to just trust and let the originality come out. And it's not easy all the time. I just started playing some music, and on my last video I did, there were 10 people that liked it and 22 dislikes on it. So some people don't want to hear anything new or original. And I've learned to recognize that tendency in myself, that my mind tends to want the same kinds of things it's been given before. It tends to resist being given something new. It wants to hear the same old song before rather than hear a new song, rather than hear something original. So the power of now has helped me cultivate the habit of being original. And the world deeply craves originality because our world today is filled more than ever with copies of everything else. Every song you've heard today is just about like every other song because the same people make the songs almost the same way. On a large scale. Obviously, there's lots of differences, and anyway, tangent. Number 2, in the power of now, I learned to return to my physical senses. That means to pay attention to what's actually going on around me. This is one of the most powerful habits I've learned in the power of now, is to disconnect from the mind and switch into my physical senses. Like for here, to look around and see I've got a monitor up here with the blue windows on it. I've got 3 black monitors over here with various things on them. I've got my tea right here. I've got my phone. There's a black keyboard. I'm standing on the ground. You see, to disconnect from the mind world. You know you're in the mind world when you're off talking about things that don't relate and aren't going on anywhere around you. I've learned intentionally to stop and look at the sky. I frequently just stare up and look at the sky now to just see how beautiful it is, because that's what's really here. All these things we think about are kind of like ghostly images, and there's a certain hollowness and sadness to them because they don't really exist. When you're fantasizing about something you hope you'll get in the future, it doesn't really exist. And on a deep level, you're just playing around and with these ghostly images that don't even exist. You're missing out, as I've missed out so many times. I missed out on the beauty that's right around me. And the power of now helped me. I'm not even sure exactly how it did this, but it helped me to reconnect into my physical surroundings. You'll know you're plugging back into your physical surroundings if it seems like you just dropped back in your body all of a sudden. For example, this often will happen while I'm driving, although it happens a lot less often than it used to, because I generally am more present when I'm driving now. I generally am paying attention to my surroundings when I'm driving instead of being lost in thought or music or audiobooks all the time. I'm generally looking around and watching my surroundings while I'm driving. When I used to drive before, I'd listen to music and I'd be so lost in my head that if occasionally a car pulled out in front of me and I was forced to come back to my senses, I often resented, how dare you pull out in front of me and distract me from all the important things I'm thinking about. In the power of now, I learned to just drive, to just experience the beauty of life. I took a trip to Orlando, which at the time was a 2-hour drive, and my brother said, "What'd you listen to?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "No audiobooks? You didn't listen to radio? You didn't talk on a phone?" I said, "No." He said, "What'd you do?" I said, "I just drove. I watched the cars. I looked at the sky." "Well, didn't you think about stuff?" I said, "No, most of the time my mind was blank. I simply drove and paid attention to things." Now, some of us, we're so used to being lost in our head that often the only time we come look around at what's going on now is when something unpleasant happens. So we get the idea that life is unpleasant and I must constantly be in the past or future to get away from the unpleasantness of now. But I've learned in the power now that now is all we ever have, and that now is beautiful, and that now is worth paying attention to. Looking and noticing everything around me is enough to be happy. I don't need an idea of what Jerry's going to get in the future or how great Jerry was in the past to make me happy now. I've learned to pay attention to my surroundings so that if I dip off into a thought while I'm driving, I then bring back over my attention to my hands on the wheel, looking around at the other cars, paying attention. Because most of us, most of the time, if you're like me, have driven on autopilot. You're not really driving consciously. You're thinking about tomorrow or next week or the vacation you're going to take, and your body is literally just driving on autopilot. I think that's really cool. So, the number one thing I learned for the grand finale, thank you, Jerry, 18 minutes. I just wanted to hear number one. The number one thing I learned in the power of now is to pay attention to how my body feels right this moment. And you might think, "Whoa, wait, what do you mean?" I mean to pay attention to the inside, the inner body. To realize that all the infinite depth and connectedness I have to the world and everything I could ever want, God is right in the middle of my heart. All the infinite love, wisdom, everything I could hope to get from someone else is already contained inside my body. There's no award I could win. There's no relationship I could have. There's nothing that the world has to offer me that I am not already holding on to and possessing right now. In The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle gives a great example of this. He says one day a man is walking by a beggar sitting on top of a wooden box. The beggar asks the man, he says, "Sir, would you please give me $1? I don't have any money." And the enlightened man looks at the beggar sitting on the box and says, "Well, have you looked inside the box? I think you already have everything you need in there." And the man says, "No, I've been sitting on this box. The beggar's been sitting on it for 30 years. And there's nothing in it. I would have known by now." And the Enlightenment says, well, why not try opening it? Just take a look. So the beggar pries a box open and finds a box full of gold coins that spills out from there. And the beggar says, oh, thank you, thank you. And that is basically what Eckhart Tolle seeks to do in The Power of Now. To be the enlightened man that points to the box, that pointed to the box I was already sitting on with all the gold and every treasure I could ever hope to have. And all of that is located inside the body. And there are so many miracles that happen, once I started looking inside the body. All these things that were so hard before, like diet and health and taking care of myself, once I started looking inside the body and simply paying attention to it, things started to get a lot easier. For example, my diet. With enough attention inside the body, I can now look and I simply see how what I eat impacts the body in real time. If my body doesn't like it, then I know that's not something I should eat. You see, there's so many amazing things that happen. The body, the heart. I frequently feel my heartbeat now. I can feel my heart beat to the beat of the drums. And I used to think I had to do something exciting or stimulating to feel my heartbeat. Like, for me, it was getting in the middle of a hardcore search and destroy game in Call of Duty where I was the last person left, and then I'd be like, ba-bump, 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 ba-bump. Then I'd feel my heartbeat. Or in zombies, after you've got slapped and put down on the ground on level 60-something on Origins, and you get back up, and you've got to make the run to go get your Juggernog, so you get an extra slap, and you're super slow, and the zombies are all around you, and all it takes is a little tiny touch, and that's it. The game you've been playing 5 hours is over with. And then my heart would be like, ba-bump, 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 and then I'd notice it. But now I notice my heart beating all the time. I can feel my heart beating right now. And all the joy and everything you could ever want is in the middle of your chest. Sometimes it's even overwhelming to realize, like, man, this thing has total control in here. Like all these stupid things we try and do to get control, this thing in the middle of my chest has total control. It stops for 1 second and it's all over. That's it. It beats while I'm asleep, while I'm awake, while this body, it beats, it is the master. And it's right in the middle of my chest, and it was given to me. I didn't do anything to deserve this. I didn't work hard to earn it. I didn't stick at a firm for 20 or 30 years to try and make a heart. I got this. I've had this every moment I can remember. And Tony Robbins was mentioning something like this in one of his podcasts. And Eckhart Tolle the same things. So many of the same things. Eckhart Tolle is one of the first things I listened to, The Power of Now, that guided me in this direction. And now I see these things are all over the place. So I hope in sharing it with you today that you are able to experience, if you'd like to, some of the gifts that I've experienced. The Power of Now was recommended to me by a friend in AA, and I'm very grateful for that recommendation because at the time I was looking to learn and grow in my spiritual life, and now I work on that every single day. And The Power of Now was a gateway for me to open up all kinds of other learning and to experience miracles in my life. So I'm very grateful Eckhart Tolle wrote the book. I'm very grateful to see that Eckhart Tolle is just another version of me, and so are you, so is everyone else. This is our world here. We're all making it together. Thank you very much for experiencing this with me today. My exercise is to remember what I've told you today and to make sure I'm paying attention to my surroundings, to watch for my pain body coming up, because it doesn't matter if I can identify yours. I need to be able to see when mine comes up and be able to then be conscious, pay attention to my surroundings, not get sucked into the void. Not get sucked into myself and how great Jerry Banfield is, because Jerry Banfield's just a name, just another body on earth, a divine being to fulfill the purpose of the universe, just like you and everyone else is. If you've enjoyed this, would you please leave a like on this video or leave a review on iTunes or on Google Music, wherever you found it. If you would like to try the book out today, if you would like to get the same benefits and miracles I've got out of the power of now, would you please use the little link I've made? It's a little Amazon short link. If you buy the book for $8, I might get maybe 10 or 20 cents off of it. It's a little tip just to let me know that you actually went through and loved it enough to go buy the book. And if you're one of my friends and family, I already sent you the book. I won't hold it against you if you gave it away or put it in the closet, because I've given away lots of the books people have given me too, sometimes without reading them. So thank you very much for listening to this or watching this today. I hope you have a wonderful day today. I hope to see you again soon. If you've watched live, thank you very much. I don't see any of the comments here, but I just did present this live on February 9th, 2017. So if you watched live, I appreciate it, and I'll hope to see you again soon.